What type of membership are you building? Did you know that there are actually 6 different types of memberships? Only 6. And what we find is that the majority of people are actually building the wrong membership type for them. Want to know more? Come on in. Let me explain. You might be one of 3 people. You've created a membership area and you've got people in and they're not actually doing the thing it's crazy making. That's one. You might be a second type of person where you've created a membership area and it's going great for a while, but then all of a sudden your engagement and everybody who's involved just tanked. Or the third type of person that this video is going to help is you've created a membership area and your customers are in there, but you hate what you've built, and it is not at all in alignment with how you want to live and how you want to serve. If you're one of those 3 people, good news is that you're not alone. Those are normally the people that come to us, and we have a solution for you, but it does require that you understand what type of membership you're actually building in order for them to do the thing, engage in the thing, and for you to actually like what you're doing and how you're fulfilling. So understanding one of the 6 membership models that actually align with you and how you want to serve will help you not only increase engagement for your customers, but it'll actually help you like what you're doing. So let's dive into what are these magical 6 membership types. But time out. Before we dive into the 6, it's really important for you to understand a little bit about the language I'm about ready to use. When I say engagement, a lot of times in the course creation world, people think about engagement as course completion. And so the data that I have to work with is usually from that mentality. Little side note, when adult learners are actually trying to learn, course completion doesn't actually matter. It's more about them finding the material that they actually want. That's for a different video. But if we want to look at the data, which we're all researchers and we're geeks and we want to base our information based on data, it's important for you to understand that when I say engaging, right, meaning like a customer is actually doing the thing, then the average out there that you can find is based off course completion again, but the average course completion, aka engagement, is about 1 to 3%. That's on average across all courses in the adult learner space, not like back in high school or back in like university or things like that. But adult learners, it's about 1 to 3%. When we actually implement one of the 6 experience or membership models with our customers, we find that we can get an average engagement of 60%. That's a huge increase. In addition, we need to talk about upsell. So if somebody is consuming your material and doing the thing, the likelihood of them upselling into your world is high. So on average, an upsell rate out in the normal world of courses and adult learning stuff is about 30%. On average, on a good day, right? When you understand one of these 6 experience models and you stay true to that and it aligns with how you want to serve, you can actually see an upsell rate of up to 95%. So it has a huge impact on engagement, aka are they actually doing the thing, and on upsell potential, aka are they buying the next thing or your next offer or coming deeper into your world. Okay, now we know the stats. Let's dive a little bit into what are these actual membership types that I'm talking about and how can you actually experience things like this of high engagement up to 60% and high upsell rate up to 95%. Let's dive into that. So if you're creating your membership area, you might have heard of things like Success Path or gamification, which is great. I'm really glad that those things are starting to get into the popular vernacular, the way people are talking about things, is because it helps us all be able to have a shared language around it. The hard part, though, is that what nobody is really talking about is before a Success Path and before gamification, it's important for you to actually identify the membership type that you're building. Now, if you're following, for instance, Stu McLaren, he talks about membership models, and which is good. Again, I'm really glad that he is talking about that, but there's this really critical piece that's missing, and it is that there is a huge difference between what we call the business model of a membership site and the experience model. Let me back that up just a second. So we study membership areas in the Geek Out community. Our team is obsessed with creating high-end membership builds and being able just to help people drive engagement inside of their membership spaces. By engagement, again, it means the customer's actually doing the thing and they're upselling into your world. So we've studied about now 169 different membership areas. And what we found is that in those membership areas, most of the time, the way that they're built is they're built based on the business model. Now, the business model is really important. We need this in order to understand how do we price the offer, how do we package it, how do we help people to be able to know that it's there? How do we position it in the market? What kind of customer are we targeting to be able to come into it? What's the ROI on it? What is the MRR? What's the long-term value? So all of these things are the business model of memberships, and they're critical in order for you to run your business. But none of these things will actually help you create an experience inside of your membership area that allows your customers to actually be motivated to do the thing and for allow you to be able to step away when you want to step away and only show up when you actually want to show up and serve. Now, let me break this down just a little bit, what I mean by experience model. Imagine you were to come to me and you were to say, Andrea, I want you to build me the most amazing obstacle course in the entire world. Okay, what would I do? I would create an obstacle course that has like one obstacle that you only focus on a time, and then there's only one path, and you run down that path and you go to the next obstacle, and I only focus on that one obstacle at a time, and so on and so forth. And then because obstacle courses need to have a lot of momentum and a lot of engagement, I might make loud music and fans and like a marching band or something, and then maybe a scoreboard that's like a timer. And I try to inject it with as much momentum as possible, and that would create a great obstacle course experience. Now I want you to change minds here, and you come to me and you say, Andrea, I want you to make me the most amazing library experience in the entire world. I'd be like, awesome. What would I do? I would make it big and spacious and light coming in and plenty of places for people to sit and browse, and whatever comes in the door, whatever keyword of curiosity comes in, I want them to be able to find that thing and just dive into it and explore it and not feel any pressure, any sense of time. I want them to basically just be able to peruse at their leisure whatever their curiosity is. Now, this is a very different experience than an obstacle course experience. And what we forget is that when we are making membership areas and membership sites, we are essentially inviting people into our digital space, which is architected for a particular type of experience. And this is where we come to, there's only 6. And all of our research and all of the things that we see that are successful out there in terms of adult learners or people being able to make money online by selling their information, by selling their expertise, there are only 6 experience models that exist. And if you know which of the 6 that you are actually delivering, that is what leads to an increase in engagement and an increase in upsell. When those things are like a weird combination or hybrid or not clear, that's where we see drop off of engagement and we don't see upsells. Okay, so let's dive into what are the 6 experience models. The 6 experience models are these. Model number 1, the sprint model. This is where you inject a ton of momentum. It's similar to the obstacle course, and we're going to break that down here in just a second. Model number 2 is the library model. This is normally where you put all of your resources and all of your backlog of content, and people can peruse at their leisure, like the library model that I used in the example of experience. Then the third one is the course model. This is the most classic one that you see out there. Unfortunately, a lot of times it turns into like an info dump, but the course model is meant more for a DIY experience, meaning the student can go through at their own time preference and get what they need in order to do the thing that they're wanting to do. A mastermind model, this one is really popular, especially in like higher ticket items, where the goal is that it's a community of like minds that come together to swap ideas and learn and grow from one another. The fifth one is the coaching program. Now, we don't see a lot of these inside of the entrepreneurial space unless you actually are a coach. It is very one-on-one, and it is a highly personalized experience based on what you and the coach are actually working on. And then the last one is what I call the event model. The event model is the purpose of it is to inject a lot of buying momentum. So things like challenges and summits and different like online events, right? These are event models, and that's it. Those are the 6. We're going to dive into each one of those and when you would use what, so that if you can identify which of the 6 you actually want to deliver to your people, then you would design the space and the experience to support that particular type of experience. And then you're winning. So let's dive into each one. Okay, model number 1, the sprint model. The sprint model is really good to inject momentum to get them to do the thing. It's really good when somebody is first coming into your world and you need them to take that one big step into something where they're winning. It is super bite-sized. So just like that obstacle course where I want them to focus on one thing at a time, it is highly structured. You can't deviate from this, and I just need you to get a win. That is the sprint model. Oftentimes it's coupled with a lot of social pressure where a group of people are going in together. So if you're familiar with the One Funnel Away Challenge in Russell Brunson's world, then a group of people are coming in, they're going through together. There's a lot of social pressure. Again, the goal with the sprint model is that you want to inject pressure and momentum, and you want to make sure that it is a clear start and a clear end so that that pressure can be in a concentrated period of time. Obviously, if you give people too much pressure over a longer period of time, they're going to burn out. So it's important that this is more of like an entry gateway into your world. It injects them with a little bit of momentum. They get a quick win. They get a taste of what winning is like in your world. And they also get oriented to your world. So normally a lot of time pressure, a lot of social pressure. This is where you see things that aren't released, right? So you oftentimes drip, you only release one thing at a time, because again, it's that obstacle path, right? I only want people to focus on one thing at a time. You oftentimes see things like countdown clocks, and again, a lot of momentum, a lot of energy. You want people to feel the push, and you want to make it super bite-sized. Don't ever make a sprint longer than 30 days. As a general rule of thumb, typically the shorter is the better. And if you can have that social pressure, meaning a group of people are coming in together, starting together and ending together, then it's always more successful. One interesting twist, if you are looking at the One Funnel Away Challenge, is that now when you go in, they have to start the mission and decide on the date they're going to start. Like, I'm going to start on this date. So there is a commitment. And again, there's that pressure. So that is the sprint model. Model number 2 is the library model. Now, the library model, unfortunately, gets put in at all the wrong times. So a library model is when somebody already has a little bit of your language. They come into your library of content, which is embedded with the way you talk about things, with your language. And so it's really important that when you're using a library model, it's not the first offer, very rarely. There are some use cases where it is, but by and large, it's not the first thing that you want people to come into, because they don't have your language and they don't really know what they're looking for yet, right? You haven't oriented them. That's why sprint models are so much better to start with. But a library model, especially if you add it like as a bonus offer, as a secondary, once you finish the sprint, you have access to it. It's a place where is largely a lot of your content lives. And it's like random content that you've created through the years that might be helpful to people at the various parts of their journey. But again, it's like that library where people are going to come in the door with their own set of keywords, their own query, their own like, hey, I need to know a little bit more about that. And so in a library model, when they come into that digital space, the number one most important thing is findability. And so oftentimes findability is difficult, especially if you are not connected to like an external database where you can have the metadata on top of objects. So what you can do is you can create really good navigation schemas. So the way you organize the content in the library, the type of categories that it might fit into, and you make those categories right at the front door. So for instance, if you look at like Mindvalley in their navigation schema has organized all of their content around mind, body, soul, career, entrepreneurship, and relationships. So these are what we would call navigation areas, right? They're creating the overarching categories, but they know that those categories are important based on the content that they have. And so I'm basically suggesting to the customer, hey, these are the way that we organize things. Are any of these of interest? And you might find the thing you're looking for behind that door. You also see it in, I reference Masterclass a lot. So Masterclass has their own set of categories that align with the content that they have. So things like art and entertainment, business, community and government, design and style, food, home and lifestyle, music, science and tech. right? These are areas of categories that their content may live. And so they're trying to help marry the query that comes in the door, the curiosity of the customer trying to get the thing that they're interested in, and how they know their content, the categories that they know their content falls into. And they do that through presenting this navigation schema where somebody clicks on it and then sees the list of options. There are some more sophisticated library models, especially if you're connected in with like an Airtable database, where you can actually have more of like an interactive search or predefined filters. There's lots of cool things you can do with library model that we've done with our customers. But really the name of the game is that when you're creating a library experience, AKA a dumping ground of all your content, the most critical factor in making that experience great is to organize it in some way that's meaningful and to present that organization schema to your customers so that they can connect with the content. That's the library model. Again, don't use this as one of your first offers. Very rarely is that ever a good idea. Usually it's a bonus offer that they could have access to this other area, right? Or it's later on after they've been in your world for a while. You offer that because they already have the language and they know what they're looking for. All right, that's the library model. Let's go into the next one. This brings us to the third model, the course model. Everyone does a course model by default because it's what we know. And unfortunately, this is actually the reason why a lot of people hate what they've built because it's just a dumping ground of their information, and it's something that I affectionately call info vomit. In order to have a really great course model, what this means is that usually the customer who's coming through a course model is going to be on their own timing. So they're going to come in and they're going to consume the material in the timing that makes sense for them. They also might jump, right? And so you wouldn't want all of your course material to be guarded or gated. You want the customer to be able to jump to the areas that they want to jump to because it is more of a self-regulated learning experience. So again, they can come in, they can get what they need, and then they can find value in that and do the thing. The other thing with course model that's really critical in the experience is that you show progress. So there's an easy way, because I might be coming in at random times, or there might be gaps between when I come in and when I leave. It's important that when I come back in, I know exactly where I left off, or what I've seen, what I've done, where I want to go next. And so adding things like progress tracking or showing the amount of progress that they've made in any one of the various modules that they might engage in is so critical when you're creating a course model. The other thing that's really important in a course model is a feedback loop. Now, feedback loop is important in all experiences, but it's really important in the course model. And the reason is because I'm a self-learner. I'm a self-guided learner in your course experience. And so I need a way to know, like, did I do the thing? So there's a couple different techniques that you can use in order for them to see, did they do the thing? So for instance, showing examples of what's right and what's wrong, having answers in the back of the book that they can unveil once they've tried the thing, right? Being able to have some system where they can submit things and get feedback, or being able to do some kind of self-assessment. You could use quizzes sometimes. Usually quizzes aren't so good though for like more advanced skill sets. They're good if it's like rote memory of things, where they're getting feedback on like, did you know the thing, right? Most of the time though, in especially adult learning, it's more applied and bigger skill sets. So feedback needs to usually be like examples of doing it right. And so it's important in your course experience to always give back to your customers a way for them to self-assess and say, okay, did I get it? Do I understand it? That's also where community can come into play. So if you do have a course model, having a community where people can come in and can submit things and get feedback is a great idea. Again, it's all in that self-assessment, self-pace, and making sure that everything is ungated and I can see my progress. Those are some of the key points in the course model. The fourth kind of experience model is what I call the event model. Now, the event model is really important that it's a concentrated period of time. It's normally a huge momentum injection, and it helps people ultimately make a buying decision. That is the goal of an event. It is intended to move hearts and minds and create desire so that people will buy. Now, classic events that you might see could be a summit is a really popular event, a challenge, a virtual event, a physical event, a webinar, or a masterclass. These are all event experiences. What we know is really important inside of event experiences is that it has a landing place, normally a lobby. So as soon as somebody registers, you want to start to build anticipation. And so just think of it like if I'm at a physical event, or I'm at a concert or something like that, right? And people like you can feel the momentum building, right? And then all of a sudden the doors open and people rush in and there's a giant part of momentum. And so if you think about building an event model, whether it be a summit, a challenge, a virtual event, a physical event, a webinar, or a masterclass, you want to have some kind of lobby experience. It's one of the key things to try to start to build that anticipation. You also, as soon as the buying to the ticket actually happens, that's really when you need to start injecting the anticipation, right? After you've opened lobby doors, then typically with these experiences, it is highly concentrated and it is like, okay, you open doors, you're out of the lobby, you're in day one. And so a lot of it is like, you have to make the agenda very well known. So people know where to be, when to show up, how to be present. And so agenda is a heavy focus. You usually need some kind of an announcement area right there in the experience because there's always things that are kind of changing and shifting in events. And you want to make sure everybody knows about it. Plus you can do shout outs and highlights from the day before. Which if you have a multi-day event, the lobby experience is important on every single day. And so I think the best lobby experiences that I see have like replays of the day before on day 2, day 3, etc. And normally the pitch is on the second to last day or the last day of an event as a typical thing. The other thing is you do want to, if you're doing an event experience, this is where you want to have music and you do want to have some way to be able to, again, like if the energy starts to drop, you have a way to inject momentum in and very much just that anticipation. You can think of it like if you go to a really great rock concert, right? And it's done really well, it'll take you on an emotional journey. And so the last thing that's important with events is that there is a theme. And that you consistently come back to that theme throughout the entire event. And everything inside of the experience supports that theme. So even like, for instance, in the lobby, you might have some kind of like little trailer about the theme or about that focus for the day. And so again, events are very much injections of momentum. It's more about moving hearts and minds in order to help people make a buying decision. And it is a concentrated period of time. And there's a lot of this anticipation and you want to keep the emotions really high. That's an event model. The fifth type of membership experience is the mastermind model. Now, we've heard mastermind a lot, and when we use it, we specifically mean that inside of a mastermind experience, it really is about the community. And it's not so much about a bunch of people trying to come and listen to one leader. It is about a bunch of people who have a equal or shared skill set, and they want to come and exchange ideas. And they want to come and learn from one another. And so the emphasis inside of a membership model is first and foremost to promote community engagement and to promote networking inside of the community that the mastermind is supporting. It also is really needed to be strong. The strength of the network is what's important. And so being able to foster, if people inside of the membership area want to go off and do separate projects that then feed back to the group, that's really important. You oftentimes see this actually in open source communities. I think they're the best example of a membership model. Now, because they're open source, they're free, and so it's a little bit different, but the concept is that the space that's created is all in support of people finding each other, being able to exchange information, and then branch off, do a project that then can contribute back to the whole. So that's the goal inside of a membership model. These ones are usually seen in higher ticket or after people have been in your world for a while and they all share the same language and they've translated what you've taught them, applied it in their own unique way, and now they're ready to come back to a group to exchange ideas in their application of what you collectively have learned. And those are usually the best membership or mastermind model experiences. The sixth and final model, which you don't see a lot in entrepreneurship, we throw around the term coach a lot, but this model is the coaching model. And I don't mean it in terms of the typical way that we use coach in the entrepreneurial space. It's more like the classic executive coach, where the coach doesn't necessarily have an agenda that they're going to bring people through. They let the customer or their client be able to say, hey, I want to work on these things. And then the coach has a set of tools that allows them to be able to work on those things. And so inside of a coaching model, and inside of that world, it's really important in that membership that is highly personalized based on the path that the coach and the client have decided on. They also have direct access to the coach, and they can track the usage of that direct access. And one of the examples that I saw, which is really good, is like I hired a health coach a while back, right? And so she had me use MyFitnessPro, which is an app that most people can get. But inside of her portal, the experience leveraged a direct path inside of MyFitnessPro and like allowed her to see mine. And then we would have conversations inside of her portal about what she saw. So that was, again, highly customized, highly personalized to what her and I decided was going to be my goal. And that is the most critical part in a coaching model, is the highly personalized, the direct access to the coach, and being able to monitor the usage of that access in most cases. And that is the sixth and final coaching model. So there you have it. There's only 6 models. And if you pick the right model for you and your business and the customer that you're serving, then the likelihood of you driving engagement, aka they do the thing, and they actually upsell into your other offers significantly increases. And the best news is that there's only 6. So pick one of the 6, choose that, be intentional with that. Only go to that model, build that, and the engagement and the upsell potential that you'll see significantly will go up. If you enjoy videos like this, then you're going to want to come into the Funnels for Smart People Geek Out community, where we explore different membership models, how to build them technically, and be able to get these kinds of results. So come on into our community, ask questions, and let us help us build your next membership area. Oh, and as always, like and subscribe. It helps our channel and it helps us to be able to continue to produce content like this. Let us know.